What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for this week's John Deere Classic. We're going to go through the golf course, the field, and anything else that I can think of using my website, RickRunGood.com, which is golf data, visualizations, and tools. So without further ado, let's jump right on in to this thing. We'll start with the course key stats here. It is TPC Deere Run. This is a golf course that statistically skews towards accuracy over power, not only in the regression model here, but also just kind of thinking about past winners and guys that have had a lot of success here. Davis Thompson, Sepp Straka, JT Poston, Lucas Glover, Ryan Moore, Zach Johnson, Steve Stricker. Like, those types of golfers are certainly not ones that are overpowering golf courses. Bryson won here before he was overpowering golf courses. So that checks the box off as well. And if you look at the course key stats model, nothing really pings here except for driving accuracy. You know, there's just a lot of mid-tier stats on the PGA Tour. It's a TPC. This entire golf course is out in front of you. There's not a lot of nuance or anything crazy that's going on. You are just statistically rewarded by playing out of the fairway more consistently, and you are rewarded for if you're going to missing right as opposed to missing left off the tee. There's not a ton more to it than that when it comes to off the tee, and then we'll get to basically average size putting surfaces at 5,500 square feet, and we're back to bent grass greens. If you look at some of the secondary stats, which are wonkier in nature, but they start to tell a story as you bundle them together. So approach putt performance, that's lag putting, and consecutive fairways hit actually rank the highest of any stat. 508 stats on the PGA Tour. Compare them all against the last dozen years of results, 1 through 156, and that's what pops up. Obviously, by itself, that's not great. But if you start to look through this, so you've got approach putt performance, then you get consecutive fairways hit, driving accuracy, left rough tendency, consecutive greens in regulation. Right there, of the top 5 stats, by themselves don't mean a whole lot. Together, start to tell the story of fairways and greens. Accuracy. Give yourself a chance to hit the green. Give yourself a chance to make the putts. They're going to roll pure at TPC Deere Run, and don't get in trouble off the tee, because that's one of the few places that you can actually get in trouble out here. And that story continues when you go down and look at the actual values of strokes gained off the tee on all the par fours and all the par fives. Only 2 holes. Number 14, which is a short par 4, and number 2, which is a very gettable par 5. Those are the only holes where distance is literally more valuable than accuracy. That's not my opinion. It's not modeling. It is just looking at the strokes gain numbers for guys that hit the fairway versus guys that hit long drives, which is defined as drives that are longer than the average on that hole specifically, not on the golf course, not on tour, on that hole specifically. So it's a really good sense here. So that means all but two holes have a bigger reward for finding the fairway than for hitting a long drive. So really noteworthy, I believe, especially because it matches up with everything else that we're looking at here at the top. So when you overlay that over the last 36 rounds of everybody, you're going to get great drivers of the golf ball. Now, some of these guys are not super accurate. They might be able to club down, but the off the tee numbers in general, because driving accuracy is so valuable, off the tee does get a significant boost. And because all the other stats are basically below average modeling stats, you're going to see guys like Cam Champ and Chris Gotterup, who are known for their distance instead of their accuracy, getting big boosts here. So off the tee play together, important. And then we start to separate out accuracy more than distance. So the top 5 in terms of best adjusted fit are Cam Champ, Pearson Coody, Chris Gotterup, Ben Griffin, and Bud Cauley. I'm sure we'll talk about those guys more in depth, but you can kind of see if you're watching on YouTube what these best adjusted course fit numbers look like. And of course, if you want to lower this down to, a different number of rounds or go deeper into the bag, you can certainly do that as well. Last 20 rounds might take a second to load here because I'm running my, screen recorder. Ben Griffin becomes the number one best adjusted fit player. Aldrich Potgieter moves up. Kevin Roy moves up into the top 5. Jake Knapp moves up as well. So there's a lot to talk about. This is an event that it gets kind of squished because we've had an unbelievable run of major championships and signature events. Then we're going to get to Scottish Open. We're going to get to the Open. Then we're going to sprint to the finish line. It's in a very tough spot on the schedule. Rocket Mortgage as well. What we've also found is that Rocket Mortgage last week, best field it's ever had. And this week is the best field the John Deere has ever had, or at least in the last 10 years or something like that. So the model of signature events is working in that sense. I obviously have my qualms about it, but it is working in that sense that it's also making the other fields stronger because guys that could not qualify for the signature events that are just outside of that are playing these types of events. So, yeah, it's a good field. It's filled with all of our guys, right? All of our guys that we love to play week in and week out. All right, here is the cheat sheet at RickRunGood.com. This, again, second week in a row, we've got 3 golfers over $10,000. And last week, I was not super thrilled to be accessing those guys at the top. That ended up working out. Morikawa had the best finish, and it, certainly didn't burn you if you didn't play Colin Morikawa. This week, I think we're going to have to get into the 10K range, particularly Ben Griffin. Okay, if you have watched this show for any period of time, you know that I am in on the Griff until proven otherwise. Because despite being this cheesy loan officer vegan who I love and having the most simple name in the world, he is balling out. Another complete gain last week at the Rocket Classic where he finishes T13. That is now 5 complete gains in his last 6 starts. The only stat column in which he has lost strokes in that stretch was once. The Travelers Championship, 1.7 strokes to the negative around the greens. He still finished T14. So during that stretch, he has not finished outside the top 15. He has a win. He has a runner-up finish. He is just in the mix constantly. I also would like to point out that he's played at TPC Deere Run once, and he finished T5. I'm also going to try to just put this a little bit more into perspective here. Let me see. I could cherry pick this a little bit. But since the start of 2025, Ben Griffin is the second best player in this field in raw strokes gained. Pearson Coody is technically number 1, but Pearson Coody's the vast majority of his results are coming on the Korn Ferry Tour. Nothing against that, but that is the truth. If we shorten this up even more, and we just go probably like the last 4 months. I mean, I could really cherry pick this, but off the top of my head, let's just do since March 1st. Okay, Ben Griffin gets better. Pearson Coody still number 1, but he gets a little bit worse. So Ben Griffin is gaining 1.4 strokes per round over the course of his last 15 starts. That's top 10 player in the world caliber, okay? And then when you start to get to 2 strokes per round, that's basically the number 1 player in the world. That's the rate the number 1 player in the world benchmarks at. If I cherry pick this even more, and I'm even going to get rid of the Zurich Classic, I'm just going to go from the PGA Championship on. So his last 6 starts, that's mid-May. Yeah. Now he's gaining 2.4 strokes per round, 6, 12, 18, 24 rounds. Oh boy, it's a big number. It's a big number, and he's doing it in about the most beautiful way that you could have ever asked for. So I imagine I will be rocking the Griff in a big way. No, I am not worried about fatigue. This man has played more golf than anybody not named Eric Cole. I believe he is going to take off the Scottish Open. There was an interview, I believe, or Mark Immelman told me this, where he is going to not play the Scottish Open. He's going to go over and play some link style golf, though. Go over there early and play anyway, which is what a sicko. So I'm not worried about that at all. So that's where the 10K range kind of starts and finishes for me. Especially compared to last week, I do like Jason Day. I do like JT Poston more relative to the other fields from last week. Jason Day's been splendid. So I don't think he should be the most expensive golfer. That's going to be the harder pill to swallow here. $10,500. He's coming off a T4 at the Travelers where he had a complete gain there. And he's got a bunch of really high-end finishes in 2025. He's playing some of the best golf that we've seen from him in years. He has a ton of experience at this golf course. He has never missed the cut. And he has 3 top 25 finishes in his last 4 starts, with 2 of them being exactly T15s. So I like Jason Day here. I just don't know if I want to pay the full-on $10,500 when Ben Griffin is lurking just behind. We're going to find out on Wednesday. We'll know more what the projected ownership is going to be. Yes, if Jason Day is significantly lower owned, and because of the pricing and because of the way that people are going for Ben Griffin, maybe we'll sneak him into some more lineups if we're playing 10, 20, 120, whatever it is. But for now, it's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow. I also do want to point out, so getting Jason Day over $10,000 has not always been fruitful. So the most expensive, you're looking at this. This is the most expensive he's been in gosh, for the most part, at least a year. He was $10,400 at the CJ Cup last year. That was May of 2024. Before that, we really haven't seen him be this expensive on the PGA Tour since 2018, 2019. And when that was basically when he's number 1 player in the world, that stretch of golf right there. And those times he was not super valuable. So I'm just going to read off the most expensive. These are the most expensive results for Jason Day based on his finishing position. So T22, T5, T44, miscut, T24, T66, T4, miscut, T20, T5, 59th, miscut. Expectations become high. Jason Day has probably not paid for himself as a $10,000 or $11,000 golfer in his career. It's been a couple of years. I'm just not super thrilled to be clicking his name. I'm comfortable with it. I'm not thrilled about it. And then that leaves us with JT Poston, who I do think people, obviously as a past champion here, he is going to garner some attention, and he should. The key will be the putter. What is he going to do with the putter? This is a really bizarre stretch of golf from JT Poston, who at the start of 2025 could not find his putter and was striking the heck out of it. Then he finds the putter and kind of loses the long game a little bit. Now he's in between both. So he's lost strokes on approach significantly in 3 of his last 4. He was a 0 at the Travelers Championship. He's lost strokes putting in 2 of his last 3, but he's gained strokes putting and significantly in 5 out of 7. We're just in between here, which concerns me. I would certainly prefer Ben Griffin, probably prefer Jason Day. I expect him to putt well here. He's always putted well here. He's not always struck it well. He's actually only gained strokes on approach once at TPC Deere Run. He won that year. So we're going to need the thing with Ben Griffin, we just need him to do exactly what he's been doing. With Jason Day, we need him to do, exactly what he's been doing, but we know the results are going to be more volatile. With JT Poston, we kind of need him to be better, a little bit better with the putter, better on approach. There's just like a couple things that we're going to need him to do, which makes me nervous again about paying what is a pretty significant price tag. Okay, the 9K range. A lot of really interesting things going on here. I want to start with the defending champion, Davis Thompson, probably going to have to move forward without me this week. And it is mostly because he is hemorrhaging strokes on the putting surfaces. He lost 2.5 strokes putting last week in Detroit, 7 at River Highlands, and he has lost strokes in 6 straight starts and in 8 of his last 9. Not good. Cannot out hit that bulky of a putter. You just cannot. So probably going to have to move on without me for Davis Thompson. Denny McCarthy has done nothing but roll the rock every moment he gets a chance at TPC Deere Run. You see it here. That should not be a surprise. He's gained a total of, it's like 15 strokes putting in his last 3 starts here. T6, T6, T7. Absolutely no concerns about that. A little bit of a streaky golfer. I guess I didn't see it, but I was doing PGA Tour Live. So I saw a lot of Denny McCarthy shots at the Travelers Championship, and he was a 0 off the tee. He was, and then very good through the rest of the bag. And that's what we want to see here again. We want to see him be a 0 off the tee, hit a lot of greens in regulation. You do not need to be a bomber around this place. That's where he struggles, right? He's going to struggle at Oakmont. He's going to struggle at Muirfield Village. He did both of those places. Actually pretty surprised with how well he played at Quail Hollow. This is probably the best fit we've gotten for Denny in a while. So he should be licking his chops throughout this. Jake Knapp is a very streaky player. This is a golf course that is going to reward accuracy over distance. He has plenty of distance, but he's going to be able to club down a lot. He's compared to a lot of the other bombers, he has a lot more shots. Okay. He can work things high, low, left, right, left. He is just a much better, I shouldn't say better. He is a much more complete driver of the ball than someone like Chris Gotterup, who I still like Chris Gotterup for this week. We'll get to him in just a second, but Jake Knapp has a lot more shots than Chris Gotterup does, particularly off the tee. He's been putting really well, ton of confidence there, and he is a legitimate high-end option to win a golf tournament, especially in these types of fields. So Jake Knapp is there. Chris Gotterup, I think this is a pretty bad course for him. Yes, he gets the boost for off the tee play, but his distance over accuracy is gonna be what reigns supreme. However, we just continue to need to acknowledge this. This is the best stretch of Chris Gotterup's career by a country mile. Okay. Since Punta Cana, his worst fit, well, he missed the cut in Toronto, but outside of that, his worst finish was a T28 at Charles Schwab. He has finished inside the top 30 in, what is that? 8 of 9, something like that. And a lot of different golf courses, Colonial, Tree Lines, Oakmont, wide open. Detroit Golf Club fits him really well. Where else? Like Craig, like just a lot. It's a TPC, right? It's not like you're not going to get crushed off the tee for being a little bit inaccurate, but and he's not just the driver anymore. He's picked up strokes on approach in 4 straight. He's picked up around the green in 4 or 5. The putter's still a question mark. That's okay. I like, he has found something. I don't know if he's working with a new coach. I don't know. I don't know anything, but I like it. Something very fishy, and I mean that in a good way, is going on with Michael Thorbjornsen. And I want to check this again this morning, because when I saw this last night, when the odds came out for the John Deere last night, Michael Thorbjornsen had the 3rd shortest odds. Now, he was tied with a lot of guys at 30 to 1. There were like 6 guys at 30 to 1, but it was Ben Griffin, Jason Day, and then 6 guys at 30 to 1, and Michael Thorbjornsen was one of them. Michael Thorbjornsen has, in his young career, hardly sniffed consistently good play on the PGA Tour. In inner circles, he is widely regarded as an incredibly talented player. So he got his PGA Tour card through PGA Tour U last year. He won PGA Tour U. So he is exempt through 2025 because of that. And he's been this very talented player who has not, it's like a Ferrari that hasn't been able to get out of the driveway. Well, something's happening. The driver has been awesome. The rest of his game is starting to plug some leaks. He now has JJ Jakovic on the bag. Colin Morikawa's old caddy. They finished T4 together at the Rocket Classic, which I believe is the first time they've worked together. And this is the event where I believe this is the event where him and Luke Clanton last year made a run at this thing. So he finished T2 here last year, T17 in 2023. So if you would have asked me to set the odds last night, I probably would have had Michael Thorbjornsen at 50 to 1, and you guys would have just hammered me on that. Vegas is very high on Thorbjornsen. Word from the ground at Rocket Classic was incredibly high on Thorbjornsen. And then prior to that, everybody's been incredibly high on Thorbjornsen. I'm reading the signs. I'm reading the tea leaves here. I'm in. Okay. I'm in. So I'll click favorite on his name. We'll work back to him, but $9,100 And yeah, that feels like a pretty decent spot. Speaking of decent spots, I liken myself as a little bit of a Lucas Glover whisperer, but it's not really a Lucas Glover whisperer. It is the fact that Lucas Glover is very, very consistently good on like 7 golf courses, and he does not much else on any other golf course. So it's pretty easy to pick out the places that he's going to play well. For example, he's not going to play well at Muirfield Village. He's not going to play well at Oakmont. Miscut. He's definitely going to play well at Colonial and TPC River Highlands, T22, T9. It's like, yeah, okay, of course. This would certainly fall in the category of a place that he is going to play well. Winner here in 2021, T6 in 2023, T23 last year, plays out of the fairway, plays out of the plays on the green. And then the big thing here is there's something about these greens that he likes. So he has gained strokes putting here in 4 straight, which is probably the only place in the world that you can say that for Lucas Glover. So that is why we're going to act like we're the Lucas Glover whisperer again, and we're just going to pick the golf courses that fit him well. Chris Kirk, really good week last week. Hat tip to the whoever brought him up in the live chat. Absolutely spot on. Just awesome. Probably going to rein it in a touch. Getting into a playoff, having a close call, it's tough. The good news is, you can't completely remove him here because he's got a decent run at Deere Run, and he has now gained 9 strokes from tee to green in each of his last 2 starts. So we're talking about 18 strokes from tee to green in 8 rounds, and positive with the putter in both of those weeks. So we cannot write off Chris Kirk completely because of a close call and an emotional week and having to play whatever it was, 74 holes. But I'm cautiously optimistic here. He is still priced in a way that, what if he wins? If he wins, if that golf tour, if he makes a putt on 18 in regulation, right, or the first playoff hole, whatever that was, an 8-footer, is he like $10,200 this week? So we're talking about fractions of an inch and $2,000 of price. So still valuable, but cautiously optimistic here. Lou Clanton is just priced too low. So I think the pendulum has swung a bit too far here. So Clanton, the shiny new object, comes out, goes scorched earth on the PGA Tour and shows how incredibly talented he really is. Gets up to like $10,000. Everybody's in on him, turns pro, has a couple of okay starts. And now he's $8,700, one of the most talented players in here, who finished T2 here last year. Has been awesome on approach in his last 5. The putter is a question mark, which it's always been. That's not a huge concern. And a lot of so he played 3 really good rounds in Detroit last week. He was horrible on Saturday. Bounced back great on Sunday, but he lost 7 strokes to the field on Saturday. It's probably the worst round of his career. So I would like to say he's probably not at risk to have the worst round of his career again. And I think the pendulum has swung a bit too far here. The T60, not really indicative of how he played last week, in my opinion. I want to see if that was actually the worst round he's ever put together. It was, by a mile, by 3 shots. Losing 6.8. The previous worst was 3.3. I've got 56 measured rounds of him in the database. So by far the worst of his career, and he still finished in a tie for 60th and gained strokes the other 3 days. Bud Cauley is kind of in a weird spot, right? He was very popular, during the middle stretch of the spring here. Has not played a lot since May started. Didn't get into a ton of the signature events, and just feel like we haven't seen him as much. Still playing pretty good golf, but he's holding it together. It's not as solid throughout the bag as we saw previously, but he is holding it together. The good news is he has a lot of experience around here, a lot of decent results around here, and I think everybody's kind of just forgotten about him at $8,600. Should be very well rested. We haven't seen him since River Highlands. Before that, it was the U.S. Open. So hasn't, he played 3 times in June. This is going to be his I guess it'll be July by the time he tees it up. So he'll play 3 times in June, twice in May. Hasn't played a lot of golf. Ryan Gerard, God, if this man could putt to a 0, we would be having a conversation about him being one of the favorites for this week, because the tee to green numbers are nuts, right? So let's just go back to since the start. Let's just go back to start of 2025. Everybody in this field, let's just sort by strokes gained tee. I don't know what we're going to find, but I imagine Ryan Gerard's going to be pretty far up there. I might have to cherry pick like since May again, but we'll see where Ryan Gerard fits. Okay, perfect. He is 7th, 8th, and he's got more starts than everybody ahead of him except for Siwoo Kim. So a really good sign there. So the tee to green numbers are jarring. We just need to find a putter. Is this the week? I don't know, but I always find myself trying to take advantage of this. He lost a half. He was a 0 here 2 years ago on the putting surfaces, and he gained 6.3 strokes on approach. So you're just going to hear me say, oh, Ryan Gerard, team no putt, team no putt, team no putt, all good. And then I wanted to see Michael Kim. Michael Kim has, won this. He won this event historically out of the blue, missed a bunch of cuts after that. Don't ever look at Mike. I don't even care about the win, and I don't care about the missed cuts. Trying to see what else Michael Kim has been up to. And it's not as exciting as I thought. It's been okay. Nothing great. Probably end up finishing T26 again. The 7K range is a little weird. I feel like you're having to make some concessions. You're having to go to battle with a little bit of hope more frequently than something steady. But I do think there's some options here that have my attention. Nico Echeverria is $7,800. This is a dude who I think is incredibly talented and has high-end ball striking upside. So just in his last 5 starts alone, he's had 3 different occasions in which he's gained 4 or more strokes on approach. That alone in this price range at this golf course is valuable. The putter in 3 out of 5 has picked him up at least 2.3 strokes on the greens. So, okay, so we've got that high variance, low floor, high ceiling stat profile. And that's what the results have been. T6 at the Rocket Classic, missed the cut at the US Open, 59th, 41st, T25. So I would say 2 good ones, 2 bad ones, and an okay one. And that's what you're basically going to get out of him. But at least he has that significant upside of finishing inside the top 10 and being one of the better ball strikers of the week with a putter that is above average, is good more frequently than it's not. Kevin Roy is $7,400. Kevin Roy has quietly put together a really solid run from the spring into the fall. So just his last 2 were Rocket Classic, T8, and Canadian Open, T18. And really good stat profiles there, right? I mean, great tee to green numbers. The putter was a 0 in both weeks, knocked the cover off it in Detroit last week. Then you start to look back. So he has not missed a cut since the Zurich Classic. That was with a teammate. He hasn't missed a cut by himself since Houston. Hasn't played a ton, but he's got a handful of top 25 finishes, really good ball striking numbers, quietly putting together a great run, should be building his confidence here, has only played at Deere Run once. It was 2 years ago. He finished T31. I don't think you're going to hear a lot of Kevin Roy chatter this week. I'm there for it. I want to be early on Tom Kim, so I'm doing the weekly Tom Kim check-in. I don't want to punish him for a miscut at the Rocket Classic last week because I did not think that was a good spot for him. However, actually I might have said it was like go make a bunch of birdies, Tom Kim. He did not. He lost like 5 strokes ball striking. So that's the check-in. The check-in is we are lost and we have not yet been found. I think if this was a year ago, this would be a pretty good spot for him. I don't think I can say the same this time around. He's clearly in the hurt locker. Tristan Lawrence is not. Maybe let's play the narrative game. Gains a little bit of confidence and hey, I can do that. From Aldrich Potgieter, fellow countryman, going out and getting his first career PGA win. But outside of that, Tristan wasn't far off in Detroit. T8 with a complete gain. US Open T12 with a complete gain. Missed the cut at the KLM and then finished T4 at the Sodal Open. Those are his last 4. Look at the ball striking numbers. +5, +1, +0.5, +4, +1. Drives it well. Putts it well. Confident. This is a thing. I know I avoid the narratives and I look at the data. A real thing is looking at somebody that you probably grew up with or that you know very well and saying like, hey, I've beaten that guy like 100 times. If he can win, I can win. And it's not a knock on Puck Eater, but it's like, that is a confidence boost for someone like Tristan Lawrence. Like, hey, I can do that. And I think that's a real thing. Golf season has kicked off, and there's no better place to sweat the action than DraftKings Daily Fantasy, the ultimate destination for fantasy golf fans. Right now, DraftKings is giving new customers a chance to play free for their share of millions in prizes with their first deposit on the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. It's simple to play. Build your dream lineup while staying under the salary cap, then sit back and watch as your players rack up points. Every birdie, every bogey, every clutch putt, feel the intensity of every shot. Cam Champ, get it while it's hot. It's rarely hot for long. T9 at the Canadian Open, T19 at the Rocket Classic, two really good stat profiles where he gained over 6 strokes from tee to green in both of those. He would be a good buy candidate for me at $7,200 because not many guys with $7,200 have winning equity in a field like this. We see the recent results. He was the best adjusted course fit player over the last 36 rounds. Get it while it's hot because it doesn't usually stay hot very long. Cam Champ, good buy candidate. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and enter promo code RickDFS to play free for your share of millions with your first deposit. That's RickDFS for new DraftKings customers. Just download the Daily Fantasy app today. The crown is yours. Matt McCarty. God, I can't quit this guy. T19 at the Rocket Classic, T4 at the Canadian Open, and he missed the cut at the US Open. Those were his last 3. In theory, this should be one of the better spots for him. Okay? I can't do the whole thing again, but I can't quit him. I'm a believer in Matt McCarty. $7,200 is going to get some level of exposure from me. And then Jackson Suber, who is, one of the most talented young guys in golf, is coming off a T18 and a T6 and now is in the swing of things. In my opinion, he's plugged a lot of the holes in his game. So they're probably more dart throws than anything, but they're guys that I feel at least a bit of confidence in. You can include Emiliano Grillo, Team No Putt, into that conversation as well. You can throw Ricky Castillo in, although he's cooled off a little bit. But yeah, those are the guys that the guys that I pointed out are certainly the ones that have given me a reason to be interested. The 6K range. So compared to last week, where starting your lineups in the 9K range meant you didn't really have to get down into the 6K range if you did not want to. I'm not sure we have that luxury this week. So we are going to have to find somebody or somebodies to play. I think there's a couple of decent options. Chris Ventura is here. 30-year-old with a ton of talent who's gained strokes to the field in 3 straight, including a T16 at Colonial. And he played well, including picking up 7 or 8 strokes ball striking last week in Detroit. And he was bad in the short game categories last week, and he's usually not, or at least he hasn't been as of late. So I think there is some juice to squeeze out of Chris Ventura. He's played here once. It was years ago. It was 2021. He missed the cut. I guess I'm not too worried about that. Philip Knowles is also here. He's much cheaper. He's $7,200, and he's bouncing back and forth between the Korn Ferry Tour and the PGA Tour. And he is, it's getting better. Last 4. So UNC Health Championship, that was in Raleigh at the beginning of June. He finished T8. Great. Misses the cut at the Canadian Open. Okay. It's the PGA Tour. It's a much deeper field, whatever. Wichita Open, he finishes 35th. And then last week at the Rocket Classic, he finished 34th. Gained 4.5 strokes from tee to green last week, including a really bad, kind of similar to what Clanton did. Saturday just destroyed him. He gained nearly 9 strokes to the field in his first 2 rounds. So he can compete. He's got to give us 4 rounds, 6,200. But I'll tell you what, if you just sign me up for $6,200 T34 right now from Philip Knowles, I would take it. Outside of those 2, I am not thrilled. There is a pretty big drop off. I don't want to play Zach Johnson, which means he probably wins the golf tournament. I like David Skins, but my God, can he do it for 3 or 2 rounds even? Justin Lauer, I think, is okay. I love the talent of John Pock, but haven't really seen it. Right? I mean, there are real problems here. Maybe I'll just play Aaron Wise because I want to root for Aaron Wise, who's back playing professional golf again. He's made 2 of his last 3 cuts, 58th and 51st. He missed the cut to Canadian Open. I don't know. I'm not thrilled about the 6K range. Matt Rydell is here, but he gained like 8 strokes putting last week en route to that T26 at the Rocket Classic. So that's kind of out. How does Kyle Stanley even get into this field? I thought Kevin Kisner was the lead analyst for NBC. How is he in the field? I don't know what's crazier, that the lead analyst for NBC is a professional golfer, or a professional golfer is the lead analyst for NBC. I don't know. God, I love Kyle Stanley, man, but we are long gone. We are long gone. Let's see what the model says. See if we can find anybody here. Custom model, RickRunGood.com. We need... Well, do we need to do... Yeah, we need to do weighted stuff because these guys are just, some of these guys are hardly pros. All right, so 20 on weighted strokes gained total. Then what we'll do is I want to do 10 on strokes gained total. 10 on strokes gained off the tee last 24. But then I'm going to go a little bit more and just put 10 more on accuracy. So I've got basically a double count on accuracy, which I think is fine. Then what I want to do is I want to do greens gained for 10. Go hit some greens in regulation. And then I want to do strokes gained approach last 12. Just give me the heater, guys, for another 10. We'll do bent grass putting. Whoops. We'll do bent grass putting for 20. And then we will do course history. It's pretty sticky, isn't it? Deere Run for our final 20. My number one golfer. Okay, cool. Ben Griffin. Whew. Makes me feel good. All right. Ben Griffin's number 1. Luke Clanton 2. Mark Hubbard 3. You know what? I didn't point out Mark Hubbard, and I probably should have. I'm going to click his profile here because he's starting to play better golf, and this is one of the better golf courses for him. So we're getting that convergence of trends. He's been really good since the Byron Nelson. So I'm gonna favorite him here, but I probably should have pointed out Mark Hubbard when I was going through that range. He's only 7,700. Emiliano Grillo 75. Denny McCarthy is okay. So I'm just gonna have to let me favorite some of these guys so I don't forget. I've already favorited Mark Hubbard. I'm just gonna favorite the whole top 10 so I don't forget. I could save this, I guess, but Chris Kirk is 6. Michael Thorbjornsen is 7. Dude, am I reading the tea leaves wrong? Are there tea leaves? Is there something here? Is Michael Thorbjornsen going to win this golf tournament? Because it feels like all this stuff under the surface is brewing. Zach Johnson's 8, Keith Mitchell's 9, Bud Cauley's 10. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Well, boy, it's going to be a week. I'm excited for this. I don't know why. I guess I'm always excited, but I'm excited. Okay. Live chat is Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Like usual, we'll rock it at the regular time. But other than that, yeah, stoked for this week. Best of luck, guys. Talk to you soon.